If you are new to this process, my name is Kelly Kolodny. I have been channeling the Archangel Raphael since I was a young student in college 31 years ago, a really long time. When I started channeling, nobody was channeling. They didn't even know what that was. It was a totally weird thing to be doing. And so I've really come into opening it up to everyone and sharing it now because Raphael has been talking about a moment in time where we would go through this huge transition. And I have to say, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was like, all right, well, you've been talking about this a long time. What's going on? And the transition is now. We're in it. We're in a big change. And so if you are tuned into energy, which I'm sure if you're on this call, you're aware that we're going through an amazing transition globally and personally, collectively on the planet. And I feel like I'm just a vehicle to bring in vibrations such as Raphael. And today, hopefully, the vibration of Sophia would like to come in as well and came through a couple days ago. So we'll see how that goes to support all of us in reconnecting with our divine selves. So when I channel, the process, how it works for me, and it's shifted so much over these last 30 some years. When I first started to channel, I was completely unconscious. We had like old-fashioned tape recorders, and we would tape everything and put it on tapes and go back and listen. I couldn't remember anything that was said. And over the years, it's changed, where I've become more and more conscious, and the vibration of Raphael is less distinct when I bring it in from me, and it is more blended with my own being and vibration. And I think the part of that is that as a person self, I've evolved as well, and my vibration is, although not anywhere near energy level of Raphael, I'm very human with many, many flaws. It's more integrated with Raphael's vibration. So how the process works is I just get quiet and I'll close my eyes and my hands will kind of move around, and Raphael will be going in and energetically sort of doing this with my hands, and that is her clearing your field and upgrading your vibration. So just being on the call and taking in Raphael's vibration in itself is a beautiful thing. And then Raphael will come in, and Raphael always says, hello, kind of like that. And when we're not having COVID and I'm in a large audience, the whole audience will say hello right back. And it's fun, but because of Zoom, Casey will do that. And that connects Raphael's energy to the 3D and allows it to kind of drop down to communicate with all of you. And then Raphael will come in and often has an opening message or something to say. And we'll see if the vibration of Sophia comes in today as well. And after that, we'll open it up to Q&A. I just sent out an email with the Zoom link, but a few days ago, I sent one out with questions in a Google Doc for people who've been on the list longer. And a lot of questions came in. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get to all of them today, but we pulled out some, and we'll get to as many as we can. Okay, so here we go. Let me make sure everything off, and we are recording. Okay, guys, it's recording. We're all good. All right. Water. And perhaps to make sure that I'm pinned, Casey, on the got a hole there in your sleeve on the computer. All right.
You're all good.
So if everybody on the call wants to just take a nice deep breath and just drop down and tune into allowing yourself to have this moment right here, right now for yourself. Oh, all right, one moment. Hello. Hello,
Hello,
hello, hello, hello, hello, hello. As always, we are, yes, hello. We are very delighted to be here with all of you as always. And it is that, as always, we are wanting you to know that you are absolutely, completely perfect, just as you are right here, right now, in this very moment, and that there is absolutely nothing in which you are needing to do at all. So we're wanting you to just embrace yourself in that energy of that remembering, that knowing, as we are coming in with many light frequencies at this particular moment in time to pour into all the cells of your body. For it is that we have many beings that have come forward today, for you are in a very historical moment in time, in your historical linear unfoldment right here and right now, as you are bringing in and birthing a new beginning and a new way. For it is of no surprise to any of you that this particular year in linear time, what you define as 2020, has been a bit different. And different perhaps is a very kind word, for there has been a lot of change and an enormous shift on many levels and on a vibrational level. And as this year begins to come to a close, there is a final push that will be happening in the next several weeks, in which many of you are asking about. For it is that you are moving into a time in which you will hit what you might call a solar eclipse in a week or so, moving into the winter solstice, in which a large space or opening, or you might want to think of it as a portal, is occurring that is for an enormous amount of light, in which you are ushering in a new vibration and a new way of being. And so what is happening right now is that you are experiencing a great death, a great loss. And the loss is something in which you will be grieving for a period of time. It is a loss of many things that have been known to be very familiar, your third dimension, to be based in your understanding of truth. And it was a platform that allowed you to navigate your world and to move through it with particular ideas and society and cultural rules put in place that supported you as a benchmark or guidelines or posts as to how to operate in the world. And what is happening is those energies or vibrations, and we've talked about them around structures, are all shifting, changing, dissolving, and collapsing, and dying. And as they are breaking down and dying, and you experience this death, and some of it you are attached to because of its familiarity, and some of it you recognize from a higher perspective is no longer serving you, there is still a sense of grieving of what you have known to be is no longer. But with that, you are inheriting something magnificent and beautiful. And what it is that you are now inheriting is an awakening and a remembering of your sovereign self. And so the energy and the vibration of Sophia, who came to Kelly the other day and wanted to deeply and desperately speak to all of you, is present. However, we are not sure that the vibration of the vehicle of Kelly itself is fully capable of embodying the vastness of Sophia in her message to its completeness. And so we will translate it to the best of our capacity from the inner connectedness of our merging with her vibration. So we want you all to just take a nice deep breath as we bring in these frequencies. We want you to close your eyes and to open your heart to allow these, what we are calling codes, to be imprinted in you. And perhaps imprinted is the wrong word, because they're already living and dwelling inside you. They're not something that is being so much added to you as that they are being activated in you or awakened in you so that you have more access to them. For as you descended into form and matter, and you dwelled and you sat in the vastness of Sophia's womb, in the emptiness of that blackness of that womb is the space and the opening of all creation. For it is as you descended into form and you dropped into the womb of your own mother, whoever that may be, before that you sat in the cosmic womb of the creation vibration of Sophia herself. And in that there was a calling, there was an impulse, there was a spark of light that began to pulsate and to expand itself out. And as it through the many dimensions in which we have been view, as it dropped down into that orb of light, the orb that many of you see through your cameras as those who have not entered into form yet, as it dropped further into the spectrum of light, expanding itself into the rainbow of your energetic systems and the vibration of who you know to be in your chakras. And as that energy opened and expanded, there was a boundary placed around it. And that boundary, you might want to think of it as a sphere. It was a boundary of light that encased you in form, that encased you in the dimension of the earth and in matter, in which as you walked toward it, although it might seem invisible, there was a point in which you would push against it and you could not push past it because it held you, it contained you in a knowing of the world in which you chose to be here to enter into, with all the defined rules that came with it, including linear time and the idea of the illusion of being separate. And so you have been contained in what many call the age of Pisces, the age of what you have known to be. And you've been contained in this bubble that is familiar. And although it has not been a cage, because we don't want you to think of it as something negative, it is something that had a parameter around it that encased you in a way of being that closed you off from being able or capable to expand the capacity of all the gifts that dwell within to support you to move beyond it. Some of you might think of it or call it the veil. But it is the complete remembering and knowing of moving back into the creation of the blackness of the womb of Sophia, of the beginning of time, of all that was, in the knowing that you are all of that. And so what is happening is that that container is beginning to dissolve. And as it dissolves, it permeates the field in which it was holding, in which it was containing, and it begins to dissolve anything based in structure and form that was built out of control, or out of ego, or out of domination, or out of power, or out of hierarchy. Some might label that vibration as masculine, but we are not wanting there to be any negative connotation on the masculine energy, for it is vital and important and equal with its energy of the feminine creation to form, to come together, and to bring forth something new. But it has had its life to express itself. It has had its life to come forward, and it now has expanded as far as it can expand, and it has expanded beyond its parameter, creating a sense of great imbalance on your planet, in the collective, and internally in all of you. For it was always based in the external, as something outside of yourself, in that container that you sat and dwelled in, had the answers and the solutions to whatever one was seeking, that you looked outside of self. And so what is arising now, as the container begins to collapse, as the container begins to dissolve, is that you are going inward. And many might call this the arising of the divine feminine. And this is not connected to being in a masculine or feminine body, for the divine feminine dwells equally in whatever form or gender body in which you are in at this time. So if you are in a male form, do not think of this in a negative way, for it is the divine feminine within you, the intuitive right brain hemisphere, that is awakening in all of you at this moment. And as it arises and the container dissolves, the remembering and the knowing that everything in which you are seeking doesn't dwell outside of self, but within, begins to bloom, begins to blossom. And all the gifts that were suppressed by domination and control of the hierarchy can no longer be suppressed, and with the intuitive knowing begins to be expressed. There is the remembering of the divine being and your own sovereignty of who you are. And from that place, the miraculous ability to create miracles and infinite possibilities into the creation of all things becomes extraordinarily accessible, because as the container falls, your hand moves beyond the veil into the vastness of Sophia's emptiness, of her black womb of create, you know, to be you, who you are now. And everything that you see and look at around you that has ever been from that vast empty space of the blackness of her womb. And as the container of the veil collapses, your capacity to know that and to pull from that in order to create and to express becomes more and more available. And so as the energy is ushering in through the end of this year, and you move into the winter solstice, where the grand conjuncture of the energies of the stars come together, you birth into something new, into what many of you call the beginning or the timeline of the Aquarius age, in which there becomes a division and a splitting of energies depending upon the vibration in which is held within your field. And so this particular moment in time here, in linear time, in form and structure, still encased and embodied in that container, is more important than it has ever been before, what you are holding now as the year comes to a close. So old belief systems, old vows, old lives are all paralleling, coming together and merging into one point right now. You are merging all that has been in the imprint of the soul of who you know to be through lifetimes of lifetimes of lifetimes into this very squeezing moment of time where you're birthing through a pinhole of light begins to collapse. And so many of you on this call are healers, your coaches, your psychologists, your therapists, your artists, your creators. You're often very much in alignment with the vibration of already the right hemisphere. You already have awakened the divine feminine within and are accessing it. But there's still a part that has been placed upon many of you healers in the energy of the vibration of the imprint of the collective masculine understanding that a part of that is somehow wrong. For it is that during the time of the great mystery schools and the great times of Egypt and the knowing of many of the old ways of being, in which beings that were moved beyond the container, those who spoke their truth to know their divinity of the light source that they carried and that they were persecuted, were put down, were isolated, were separated, and were told they were wrong, so that a new form and a new structure based in hierarchy and control could be put into place, and that place created that container in which you've all been operating in for a very long time. And that container is collapsing because as more of you are awakening to remembering the old ways of who you are and the power you carry, no one can hold any power over you in the remembering of your own immortality, in the remembering of self, in the remembering beyond the physical body, of remembering and seeing the vastness of who you are in the light that you carry. What could anyone possibly take from you, for you are sovereign in your love? So that is what's happening right now. And there is this last grip of trying to hold on to the old way because it is familiar and because some benefit from it. And as you transition out of it and into the new, you will go through periods of releasing and letting go of what you might label as your shadow side. You may be bringing up things to be seen, to be healed, to be cleared, so that the things that have been contained in your field that were based in feeling unworthy or less than, or critical, or judging, or the inability to create, the inability to manifest, the inability to have boundaries, or to say no, or to love unconditionally, or to forgive, wherever the vibration within your own personal field needs healing, that is surfacing. And as it is surfacing, it is your job individually to bring love to it, to shine light on it, to clear it, so that it can be dissolved personally and collectively. And so you took what you might call vows, or you took on belief systems or agreements, not only from your ancestral lineage, which we will clear in your spiral work, but you also took on you brought forth into this lifetime the vibrational patterns that lined of many lifetimes. And this is the time of integrating and bringing those parallel lives into the 0 point of now, to be released into the remembering of your divinity, so that they no longer are carried through that pinhole or portal of light that is occurring and which you're accessing as you move through and toward the end of the year. So on that day, December 21st, 2020, it is not as though some miraculous, crazy thing that will occur that we all will see. And many of you will go about your day as always, but those that are sensitive will begin to feel the bombardment of light coming in. And you might come up with a lot of stuff to be cleared, to be seen, and to be looked at. But you will begin to feel it energetically as it will begin to reflect it in your reality as a new perspective in a new way. And as the container, taking off your clothes, and you have to be naked in front of everyone. And there may be a feeling of uncomfortableness, a feeling of vulnerability, a feeling of shyness, because your light will be expanding and expressing, and feel uneasy in your own skin. The idea that all of you feel uneasy being naked is quite hilarious to us from the angelic realm, because that is what you came with, not with the clothes that are on your back, but you came into this world true to who you are. And that the truth of who you are and the authenticity of your being is what is being expressed now, what is coming forward as the container collapses. So we're encouraging all of you between now and then and now and the end of the year to focus in, as we always say, but specifically even more now, into what vibration am I holding? Where am I putting my attention? Where am I putting my energy? Am I allowing the energy that has in the past contained me to control me? Or am I giving it too much attention? And am I looking outside of self still for the answers, or outside of self still for others, for things for me to push against, fight against, resist against, protest against? Or am I going and realizing that all the different dimensions, all the different frequencies don't reside outside of self, including me as Angel Raphael, but reside inside of you? From our perspective, we have always needed to teach you, as has many religions and different spiritual teachings. We've had to talk to you in terms of linear thinking, as if we are angels with wings flying above that come down. Because you had to perceive everything as something greater than you, as outside of self, almost at a higher place, in hierarchy above you, in the sky above. But as the container collapses and the masculine dominated control way of perceiving dissolves, you begin to realize that we are not outside of you, but we are inside of you, because we are you. And that all of the dimensions, the ones you talk of moving into the fifth dimension, of ascending and awakening to a higher place or state, isn't some place that you will ascend to in a higher, up a ladder to a new place. We work in explaining that in our spiral of understanding to support you in your linear thinking, but it actually resides inside. And so we're encouraging you, as always, to continue to go inward and to know that everything you want to align with, and as all the different timelines begin to merge, including all the lifetimes you have had, that you will go through that 0 point, that place of stillness, and that you enter that point of stillness in the heart. And you enter the place of stillness inside the heart, and you enter it inside the vibration that is the greatest of all, which is love. Hello.
Hello, Raphael. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna go through some of the questions that we collected in the email. And one of them was, you talked about how the angels aren't floating above us. And this question has to do with what is the difference between ascended masters and an angel? And so you can go on about that.
Oh, oh, incarnated in form, for I have not had the great pleasure of enjoying the five senses that you enjoy, that I do not get to see the snowflakes and the ocean waves, and feel the breeze in my hair, for in order to feel all the skin of the body and to connect. I have that in that sense, but I've not ever incarnated, nor has any being from the angelic realm been in physical form. An ascended master is a being that has walked across the planet lifetime after lifetime, who has fully mastered their vibrational frequency to merge back into that vastness of complete absolute knowing of at all times, in which they have fully ascended and are able even to carry physical form with them beyond the dimension that you understand to be the 3D. They return to be a master to support all of you, to guide all of you, to love all of you, and to care for all of you. And we want to remind all of you that you have access to us more than ever. And as that container that we spoke of begins to dissolve, which you will witness in the dissolving of institutions, governments, education systems that have been in place, it also is dissolving the idea that you are separate from us or an ascended master, and that each and every one of you not only has one angelic being with you, but droves of us with you, protecting, loving, guiding you, as well as ascended masters, and that if you call upon us, that we are there for you. And we are here bombarding the planet right now with so much light. And as you tune in, many of you have calibrate your frequency and mirror it with a particular ascended master that is here to support you in your evolution. And so we deeply encourage you all to ask for our support, to call upon us, and to know that we are completely available and that your access to us is even stronger than it has ever been before.
Thank you, Raphael. And so the next question is about when we do have access to you, you often say that it's not your words that are important, but just being in the vibration. What do you mean by that?
It is that we have to keep you very busy with our talking, but it is quite secondary and frankly not very important at all what I have to say. It is the vibration that I carry as I descend into this body and express through it, moves into the cells in each and every one of you and into your being. And it begins to loosen up in a sense. It begins to dissolve denser energies and wipe them away so that light codes of love that already live and dwell within you start to be stirred and opened. And it begins to present itself in your experience, in your reality, as you begin to perceive and see things in a new way. And so it is that just being in the presence, not only of my vibration as Angel Raphael, but any ascended being in which you're working with, holding that vibration is much more valuable than the words that are spoken. That is all I am saying about that.
Thank you, Raphael. And so the next question is from a doctor who would like to ask, how will medicine in general be in a 5D Earth, in particular cancer and its treatments?
Oh, you are very funny. Well, there will not be cancer in a 5D Earth. Because we want to talk to you a minute about that. We want to remind all of you that in order for there to be dis-ease in the body, you have to be vibrating with a frequency in which there is a blockage in the spiritual, mental, and emotional field. Right now in your medicine, when you find a blockage, which you might put a label on as a tumor or cancer, whatever it may be, that it comes from many things. Partly it can come from environmental and the great imbalance on your planet and in your food that you're eating that is so disconnected from Mother Earth, and all of these things, and the water and the air all have a great influence, of course, on the disease in the body and the genetic makeup and the space. But it is also that the emotional body, when there are blockages that have not been cleared or dealt with, that have been trying to get one's attention for a very long period of time and keep being pushed under the rug, that are here in your field and are floating about, they will start to begin to continue to drop down and to densify until they form into the body to get one's attention. And that's not something to be criticized or seen as negative, sort of as part of one's spiritual awakening, part of their journey. And that sometimes that's the perfect avenue for a wake-up call, for learning, for an opportunity for change or for growth, not only in the individual experiencing it, but their family and those around them. And it is part of their contract, and we are not in any way labeling it as negative. But it is that as you move into unity consciousness, or what you call the 5D earth, and you begin to birth into that new frequency, you'll be clearing that energy along the way so that it won't build to a point to which it can drop into density and to form to begin to create something such as cancer. And that doesn't mean the experience where you're operating at a higher frequency does not mean that you are still not growing and learning, but you will be vibrating at enough of a frequency that you will recognize it as it's occurring, and you'll be, it doesn't have time to build up into something to the point it drops into that. However, until you have reached that level in your understanding and your capacity and your ability to clear and to see yourself beyond form, beyond matter, beyond the skin of the body as an etheric and a body that is has an auric field and a vibrational frequency that is much vaster and larger than you can measure with your understanding or science, right now you'll start to realize in the linear way of thinking, in the third 3D, that the solution to malignant or to what you might call cancer or things like this is all vibrational. And the medicine very much based in that, in that you will be clearing the frequency and you'll be elevating it and rebalancing it within the body. Now you can clear, elevate, and rebalance any frequency in the body to dissolve cancer through the intention of holding that frequency and knowing in your great belief that it is gone, and holding a certain sound. Sound will have an enormous impact on medicine. Color will have enormous amount of impact, and vibration. When you begin to remember in the higher dimensions, as we talk about, you've got your 3D, your 4D, which is the canopy of the emotional vibrational frequency, where many of you are very blocked. The 5D of unity consciousness, where you are all interconnected and you're moving into the remembering of the unified field. But then you move up into higher frequencies beyond even that, where you are dealing with the geometrics, right, of form, in which it projects the holographic reality that you experience through shape. Moving up beyond that into color and into sound, those three dimensions of color, that color is simply vibration that is expressing itself, right, in light, in a vibration that's expressing itself through light shows itself in color. Vibration that's expressing itself in sound is also expressing itself in a new frequency. So all those different frequencies, sound, color, and light, will all be extremely valuable and potent in healing of the body. And that will happen very quickly. Within the next 5 to 10 years, medicine will be moving in that direction. And the looking at the body holistically rather than mechanically, seeing it as a whole and bringing in the auric and the emotional and the spiritual field to clear it. Because you can clear something in the body or in a tumor, you can cut it out, but if the emotional component has not been looked at or dealt with, it will return either there or another place. That you cannot bypass the spiritual and emotional work in physicality. So in the question, I guess, was in 5D, how will medicine deal with cancer? Well, it won't, because there won't be any. To shift and change, it will be moving more and more more and more to vibrational and emotional, and it'll be less and less designed to be poisoned with chemotherapy and things of this sort. But there will also be new research and technology and stem cell and different ways of working with it. But you will always have to pull it out from the root. Because if you don't pull it out from the root, just like a weed, it grows back. And what you're pulling out is the source where it was created, which is threefold. It's created in the emotional field, it's created in the genetic ancestral lineage that may need clearing, and it is created in the environmental field. And so all those three prongs of the pyramid need to be addressed in order for it to be dissolved, to be cleared, without a space for its return.
Thank you, Raphael. Very insightful. And so the next question is also related to this in the sense of you were talking about the emotional component. And so when we've been working a long time to remove a trauma or a blockage, how do we know when it's gone?
When you can laugh.
Mm.
When you can laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh about it. When you have a trauma and someone tells you about it and you think it's funny. When you're no longer triggered by it, when you're no longer charged by it, when you no longer it is inducing a emotion in you, and you see the ridiculousness in it, you see your part in it, you see that you were not really a victim in it, you see that it was part of your soul contract, you've learned from it, you've cleared it, you've progressed, you've moved beyond it, you think it's quite funny. Humor, we want all of you to lighten up a bit. Just lighten up and have a little fun. You're also very, very serious, and we don't really know why, because it's just a silly joke anyway. All of it is for you to have some fun. And you all got yourselves in a twist here of being all so serious and but the blockage is no longer there when you can laugh. And you might say, well, how could I laugh when somebody has done such a horrific thing to me or to my family? Because when you zoom out and you see it from the bigger perspective, it's quite funny, really. It's just a play that's unfolding with different characters playing out their part. And so when you can laugh at it, you know you have cleared it.
Thank you. So the next question is, what are some tools to reach our highest potential and to visit other realms?
Well, of course, we love to work with the Merkaba because the Merkaba supports you in moving in your light vehicle to move between dimensions. And as you can move between dimensions and up and down the path of your pranic tube, down into the core of the earth, stabilizing your vibration, and up into the highest realms of the infinite space, Sophia, into the emptiness of her beautiful womb, you can get out at any time, in any moment, in any place, and explore. So tuning in to your Merkaba or Merkaba, however you're wanting to pronounce it, knowing what it is, for those of you who are not familiar, it looks like the Star of David. It is two star tetrahedrons, one above and one below, coming together, intertwining and spinning clockwise and counterclockwise as a light vehicle of love. And as you can sit in it, utilizing your breath, you can move up and down the tube of light, down into the core crystal of Mother Earth, feeling her expanded love as it moves into the last, spinning and moving up through all the systems and energy fields of your body, out the crown, out the torus field, up into the galactic heart, and back in and around. And so one of the greatest tools to utilize in this process is the Merkaba. The other is the toric field, and the other is your heart center. Sacred geometry is one of my favorites. When you tune into the seventh dimensional vibration of sacred geometry and its patterns, you begin to realize it is the architect, the building block of the universe. And when you know it, when you study it, when you learn it, when you feel its frequency, you can expand your consciousness beyond the idea of what you know to be here in this moment of what you can see in form, structure, and matter. And you expand beyond that into the emptiness, and into color, and into light, and into sound, and into frequency, into vibration, in which you can begin to monitor, understand it, and vibrate with it. So if you're looking for a tool, begin to study sacred geometry, begin to study frequency, begin to study the idea of color and sound, begin to study the toric field, how the torus field moves up, in, and around you, and how you can utilize that for creation and for manifestation, to see it moving in and around the flowers and the trees and the planet and your body and things it lives in and is around it as it moves. As you begin to tune into it, you can begin to expand your energy and begin to utilize it to be a reflector in your creation and manifestation process. And the light body Merkaba is a vehicle that allows you to move out of the container we are talking about, out into other realms. And we keep saying out into because we're still operating in the thinking that where you still are in linear thinking, but really you're going inward, and you're almost burrowing like a twisting spiral, burrowing inward into the dimensions. But for now, we'll talk about the dimensions as linear, moving like this. So those are some tools that you can use, and just begin to tune into the empty space. You're all very focused on looking at what you can see in form. Begin to look at the empty space. Start to look to utilize the eye and the third eye to see the auric field around objects, around gardens or vegetables. So when you go to cook something tonight, hold the vegetable in your hand and begin to feel its vibration. Is it emanating light? Can I see that light? What does it look like? Where did this grow? Where did it come from? Was it grown with love? How removed is it from Mother Earth? Or did it come from her soil and her source? And how far did it have to travel to get to me? How close to home is it? Depending upon how quickly it came from its source to your mouth, will show the relationship of how much light is emanating from it. If it came out of your garden in your yard, the light frequency around it will be like this. If it came from a local store that was region, it'll be like this. If it came across the ocean on a ship and was in a package and then was shifted and changed, it'll be like this. And if it's been what you would call processed down and down and down to the point where it's dead, then there's no light around it, right? So if you start to pay attention to what has light around it, what is the light you're emanating from your body? Can you begin to see the light around your body? Can you begin to see the light around other people's body? Can you see, as you look at the light around their body, can you see where there's a hole or a tear in their field, or where there's a big block, and where could that block drop into what you're talking about? The doctor was asking, into cancer. And can I dissolve that block before it drops? So start to look at everything in its empty space. Using the empty space where you think there is nothing here around this body, see if you can feel a field. See if you can hear the vibration of the field. See if you can look and see the color of it. Start to play with your hands, right? Just feel the ball and the energy in your hands. Just begin doing that. As you start to tune into vibration and to energy that you cannot see, your container begins to dissolve more, and you have access to so many things that you've forgotten about. You have access to communicating telepathically. You have access to miracles. You have access to instant manifestation. You have access to healing spontaneously. You have access to being able to see beyond what you normally can see. Opening your third eye, activating your pineal gland. You can begin to hear in new ways. You can begin to talk in new ways, feel in new ways. So start paying attention to the empty space. Start paying attention to the vibration of things. You're all talking about you have to raise your vibration. What is your vibration? What vibration are you carrying? Well, how can you know what your vibration is if you can't even tune into vibration or feel it or see it or know it? So start with just playing with the energy in your hands. And then maybe start using the eyes to see the vibration around things. Take it or something that's very alive and happy. Much easier to see its vibration than something dead. And when you've tuned in to vibration, then you will start only eating and consuming things that have large light quotas, because you wouldn't want to bring anything into your body that didn't have that light. You will start attracting people in your relationships, friends and lovers, work people, whatever, that have a lot of light around them, because you will notice their vibration and you will have the energy of discernment. As you're moving through the portal of this new energy being ushered in, one of the gifts you're receiving is energetic discernment. Energetic discernment means you have an awareness, a more awakened awareness about the vibration and the frequency of everything. And as you have more awareness of it, you attract that frequency that you see more light around to your light. And as you emanate more light, that light is given out to others and they emanate, and it exponentially grows, and the collective consciousness begins to expand and the container begins to dissolve. So one of the tools you can do is to pay attention to frequency, to light, to auric fields, to color, not as something woo-woo, what does that mean? But really try to start to tune into it, to feel, attract it to you, and your vibration and your frequency will be elevated.
Thank you, Raphael. We only have a couple more minutes, so I'll give you the last two questions.
Hello.
Hello. I'll give you the last two questions at the same time then. So one is, you talk about these secrets that will be revealed. What are those secrets?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Raphael, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. You are asking about secrets?
Yeah, you say that there will be secrets that will be revealed. What are they? And then can you also give us some tips on how to consciously manifest? Because we know that we're manifesting.
Well, the secrets are all the things that dwell inside that will be coming up. And one of the things we were just talking about was discernment. But what will happen is in many of your systems, we're manipulating or controlling you. And they were able to keep it secret because you were so asleep. But as you wake up, you'll just laugh at them, because they won't be able to control you if you're awake. And so the secrets will start coming up, in that the secret is that it's that you will remember your divine sovereign self. And so all the operating fields that were put in place to control you collectively from a hierarchy perspective will be revealed. And as they are revealed, you will no longer you will just laugh at them. They will have no power over you. So that is the secrets. And in addition to that, beings that cannot be seen with the naked eye, that are vibrating at higher frequencies, are going to start to make more of an appearance, and they are here to, because you will be vibrating at a high enough frequency, you'll see them. So as an example, when someone passes on the other side and they leave their body, you can no longer see them, right? They're not in your spectrum of the visibility with the retina of the eye, because they're in a higher frequency level that you can't see. Just like dogs can hear things that you can't hear, right? Animals, there are different spectrums of vibration and frequency that can be understood that others cannot. And as yours is elevated, your capacity to see and to hear from higher dimensions that have tools and technologies to support the healing of the earth will be revealed. So that is not so much a secret, but that will be a gift. And secrets of ways that you were controlled, you're so used to it, in such a rat race, in such a matrix of complacency, will be taken away as the container collapses. You will start to recognize it, and it will come out, and you will realize that you are no longer playing that game. Now, your last question about manifesting. Well, manifesting will become easier and easier and more accelerated. And so very obvious things is to pay attention to what you're thinking about, what you're talking about, where your flashlight is, what you're putting your energy on, being in a high state of vibration of gratitude, all of that. But that's a whole work, a whole course, which we'll be doing in Spirals of Destiny, where you're working with higher understandings, frequencies, geometries, and vibrations to go into Sophia's empty space of her sacred womb of that vast infinite possibilities, and to realize that from there you can bring and birth any possibility at any moment. As the vows and the ancestral lineages of blockages are cut, are let go of, are released, and are dissolved. So we can talk about that next week if you're wanting, but perhaps in linear time we are done. And so with that, I want you all to know that we were not able to fully embody Sophia today, for Kelly was not able to hold her space, but that she is here and very present and wants to give you some final teaching. She is wanting you to go this evening in your sleep into her black empty space and to float there. Perhaps take a breath now and imagine a swirling empty black space like a warm womb of love. She wants you to know that you came from that place. And that something new inside of you is starting to stir and to wake up. And that all of you that lived during the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, where there was a great transition to move to something new that failed because greed got in the way and ego and power got in the way. And those of you who have vowed not to live in your strength and your power, not to express your divine truth, she asks you to cut those vows, to release them, and to regain your power as divine high priest and priestess that you are, so that this time, as the planet attempts again to move through this space and to awaken that it is successful, and that she puts out her hand and her guiding love to pull you through this portal of light back into that vast empty space where you remember who you are, and where the planet Earth, Mother Gaia, her dear friend, is whole and healthy and healed, and you are filled with love and awake, dancing in the sparkling light of the new Earth. Much love, many blessings, and good day.
Thank you, Mom.
Okay. Whew. All right. Well, thank you everybody for getting on the call this afternoon. And do my best to get on Sundays at 2:00. And we have our winner for Spirals of Destiny. Surfing the Tsunami is available. Will be delivered on December 21st in your inbox if you'd like to order it. And thank you for everyone who made a donation for today's call. And if you'd like to donate, you can do so after the call as well. All right, much love. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.